Call the meeting to order. I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. I guess that would be me. So who's secretary? So, Kevin, you want to do roll call?
We need the sheet.
Becky, or Christie, you got the sheet?
Yeah, I still need to sign that, but yeah, it's there.
That's okay.
All right. All right, Ms. Patterson.
I am here, I think.
Ms. Henderson, she is excused. I'm here. Ms. Rumble.
Here.
Mr. Conan.
Here.
And Mr. Delecky.
Yep, here.
All right.
Okay, so now we're moving to approval of agenda. I have nothing to add or change. Anybody else have anything? If not, a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Now moving on to approval of minutes from September 9th meeting. Everything's okay? A motion to approve as presented?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of September 9th, 2020 for the Armada Planning Commission as presented.
Second?
You can second.
Sarah?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay, one abstention. Okay, so now we're site plan 74130, which is a special approval land use application. Mr. Ezzo came before us at the last meeting with an application that was incorrect for his usage. So we've gotten new information from the applicant, but again, our information isn't enough. So we have two options: to accept the stuff that we've got, and we'll go over that now and set a public hearing date, or we can table this until we get the information that we need. So we were asked for something on powder coating. We got just exactly that, something on powder coating, but it isn't specific to the operation, and there's nothing in here stating what type of an operation they're using. It's just a general thing from the internet saying what powder coating is. So there's no listing of materials used as we requested at the last meeting. There is a drawing with the building and a parking curb, or a truck curb, but it's nothing is legible. It's not what we need. There is a drawing of the building, and that's okay, but we need parking. There's I've got a list here, give me a second. So the things that aren't included are legible copies for parking, turning radius for the trucks, what kind of trucks are coming in and out, what kind of a count on trucks. There's the powder coat, as I mentioned. There's nothing specific to this operation. The list of chemicals used, hours of operation, number of employees, and how are the materials coming in and coming out. So that being said, Mr. Ezzo, do you have any comments?
I thought I gave you
pretty near everything that you had asked me. And as far as legibility is concerned, I made a second one, and I thought it was about dimensions, and I could have swore that I put the dimensions in better when I handed them into the office.
And that is true. So you do have something with dimensions, but again, there's nothing about parking in there. And there is something, if you look real hard, you can see some really faint lines. But again, the parking, it needs to be, you need to be able to look at this and see what you've got. And quite frankly, I can't look at it and discern what's actually there. So again, your special approval land use requires things that need to be addressed. Again, hours of operation, number of employees, and kind of how your truck's going to come in, what are you going to use, what kind of trucks.
I don't know that I saw questions about.
Well, that's why I
all
asked
of
you
those
to
things.
bring me their stuff before we had this meeting, but
Right.
the deadline for you to bring anything in was Wednesday of last week, and you came to me at noon on Tuesday, the day before, and like I said, I was leaving town that day for my anniversary getaway.
Yeah, I
So
came in
I
a couple
couldn't go
days
over it.
before, but you were busy and I didn't want to bother you, and I didn't know that you were going to be around.
Yeah.
But anyway, what you're referring to is the exact same thing that was approved, but for some reason you can't, I know it's faint, it's hard to see because it's a huge drawing that's been brought down into an 8.5 by 11, so it's hard to see, but it's there. And then I took what I thought was the important things, like
Well, the whole drawing is important. So if we can't see the whole drawing, then you've put some dimensions on, but that's not the only thing that we need. So again, it's special approval land use and the hours of operation and all that, because you're going to be limited on your hours of operation. Your parking definitely goes towards the number of employees. There's a whole lot of things. That's why I had suggested that you get with me before you submitted it. But you waited almost all month to submit your stuff.
my original one, I did have number of employees.
I don't know.
Well, I did.
Okay. So this was a new application, so everything had to be treated. So if you had that listed, it should have been on here again. So if we set a public hearing, that's a big deal to set a public hearing. So the way the fee schedule goes, the first meeting is covered. The second meeting is covered. The third meeting, you pay 50% of the fee. The fourth meeting, you pay 100% of the fee again. So it behooves us to do this in an expedient manner, and that means that the information that we need needs to be presented well before the meeting so that it can go to the planner and possibly an attorney for a special approval land use. So we won't need a engineering review on this, but the planner definitely, and possibly the attorney. And those reviews, we need a lot more than just a week.
So the sign shop's not there anymore, Mark?
He's in there, but he is not functioning and he's supposed to be out. He gave me a notice, I don't know, a few months ago, said he'd be out by the middle of September. Exactly, he wrote specifically September 15th. But he's still in there. He's not moving his stuff out, and he's not paying rent. And he has always had trouble paying rent anyway, for the last couple of years anyway. At first he was okay, but then he started to sputter. And so, but right now, we do want him out, and he agreed to go out, but he's not out. So that's the situation with him right now.
So what are you gonna make with the powder coating? What kind of parts?
They'll do anything that needs. I'll even go to, my plan is to go in the future and seek out maybe even small industrial uses people in need of. But in the meantime, anything. We've had lawn chairs in there, anything from racks for the big three all the way down to lawn chairs for locals. They also do
These are metal, aren't they?
yes, they are.
Okay.
Right, it's a metal fabricating application, and as I had explained earlier, that the building had been used similar, but Ben said that, well, it wasn't a full-blown Fab Shop, so for this reason, or this is one of the main reasons that I'm here now, is because it's being treated as if it is a new business. So that's why I'm here, and excuse me for taking a few breaths. So anyway, the powder coating, which is what Ben was talking about, I didn't understand him the first time what he meant about industrial chemicals being used, which ones would work, because I told him it was just a simple powder coating operation where you spray the powder on the metal, and unlike paint where there's an evaporation process that takes place, and that's what allows paint to bond to whatever surface you're bonding it to. In powder coating, you spray you either brush or spray or whatever the powder onto whatever you're going to put it onto, and then you bake it on. So it's not an evaporation and a smelly process. It's a baking process, and there's like no smell at all compared to a spray paint, which, as I said before, and Ben disagrees with me on this, that the site had been approved for a spray paint operation years ago. It had already gone through that, and that's one of my understandings why I had carried on the way I carried on.
Are special land uses grandfathered like that if you change hands of a business?
No.
No, the thing about what Mr. Rezzo said about the spray painting being approved, the body shop was approved, but it was never approved as a spray paint operation.
And that's not my understanding from the owner of that operation.
Well,
But that's a long time ago. I wasn't even at your meetings, he was, and he told me, he even told me
it's
some
a public
facts
record,
too.
Mr. Rezzo, that the painting was never approved.
Okay,
So what other business was in there that was a fabrication shop?
There was a, they made wheels for all-terrain vehicles. There was a wood shop, which I guess because it's wood, you couldn't call it fabricating, but it's just a different metal. I mean, it's just a different material, but there was a wood shop in there. Now there's a metal shop in there. What other things? That's probably, other than fabricating of cars. I know a guy that fabricated a few cars in there, made special parts, this, that, and the other thing, but not like you say. You are correct in that this is a full-blown fab shop compared to the other activities leading up to this. But they were activities that I thought were nonetheless similar to what we would be doing.
According to our book, the classifications are different. So the car guy he was approved as a mechanic shop. So as a mechanic shop, he did some other things, but that was his approval as a mechanic. I'm not familiar with a wood shop, but the other, you said the wheel guys over bicycle guys.
No, not bicycle. I mean ATV wheels. He had a injection mold machine in there and everything else, and it was approved.
So again, an injection molding machine would be totally different than what we're at. So again, we need a lot more information. Any comments? Any other comments from the board?
I have none at this time.
No.
Is there an ability for me to have a list of the things that you verbalize to me?
Sure.
Okay, because then I can go point by point and give them to you right now.
We specifically asked for what you were doing with powder coating. So that was a very specific thing. And this is not what you're doing. What you gave us was something you pulled off the computer. It has all the different processes of powder coat. It has nothing specific to your operation. Which of those processes are you using? It had a lot of different ways to cure those processes. Which of that process you're using? So how are you applying it? How are you curing it? After the cure, so you said there's no fumes, but you're using the heat to dry something. So there's got to be some type of fume. What kind of fume is there? What kind of stuff? What's the and the reason for the specifics here, Mark, is because your building in that operation is within 75 feet of upstairs apartments that run all across Main Street. So that's real close to residents, and you've got a resident right next door. So those are why it's not coming down on you, it's protection of the people that live in that area.
Which I understand.
So that's why we're asking for specifics, not what you gave us, which is a general thing that encompassed everything of powder coat. So what is your operation? What's specific to your operation? What type of chemicals are you using?
Yeah.
So that's what we need.
Tomorrow I can highlight you're right, it gave you maybe 3 different methods of powder coating. But all are similar, and the one that is specific to what I'm using I'll just highlight it and say, okay, this is the one that's specific to us.
Well,
But it's right in front of you.
it's not just so I read, and probably everybody here read what you gave us. So I'd rather you gave us something that's specific to your thing, not just highlight whatever this is, because pages and pages of different types of scenarios of this. So one is how are you applying it? One is the chemical that you're using. One is the way that it's negative or positive. Then it's the way that it's cured. So there's many different aspects, so rather than give us everything, give us exactly what you've got.
I'll go back and I'll get you the specific one that's being done.
And all the different operations of that, and there's nothing here as far as the chemicals go and what's gonna happen when you cure that chemical. So that's what we need also.
Yeah, you keep on saying a chemical and curing it, and I don't know, because that sounds like there's some sort of a drying process.
Well, you're
Traditional
either
drying
UV,
process.
so that is a curing process, correct?
Okay, all right, I get it. All right, well, this is a simple fix for me. I can have it to you tomorrow, the specific way that it's being done. It's actually quite simple. It's not offensive in any way. It's actually probably the desired way to apply a surface and not be offensive to the surrounding area, because there is like zero fumes, period. You wouldn't even know that they're being done. In fact, it's been going on for never had a complaint yet. And I'm right next, I spend most of my time right next door, and I don't smell a darn thing. But I'll tell you what, if you took a spray can of spray paint from the hardware store and started spraying over there, I'd smell it immediately.
So we don't doubt what you're saying, but also it's not just this, so it's what type of a system do you have to cure? So it's not just what you're using, what kind of gun, so it's the whole.
Well, the heat is the curing part of it.
Okay.
That's what.
So then you have a furnace, so what's your furnace like? What's the filtration of the furnace? So what's the EPA rating of that furnace? So there's a.
So you want to know the like how much voltage, how much ampere, how specific do I need to be?
No, that's not it. We're not Edison. We don't really care what you're going to use as far as power to do this. Our thing is what kind of emissions come from this.
Nothing.
Well, again, I'm sorry. We just can't take what you're saying. We need to have you put this forth in documentation. So I believe what you're telling me, but what we need to do is have that so it's on record. If the roles were reversed and your grandkids lived upstairs in those apartments, what would you do?
No, I understand your point. Yeah,
Okay.
I know who you're working for. You're working for the Ville. I understand that.
So we're just trying to make sure that your operation is not going to cause problems to you.
Right. No, I understand that totally. I just want to point out though that these things that, as you say, cure them, they're ovens, just like a baker's oven. Okay, so a baker bakes bread, they're baking powder onto metal, but there's no fumes in either case. There's no you might smell the bread when it's being.
I think you'd definitely smell bread if it was bacon.
Yeah.
And put a smile on your face.
Right. And actually, I wish it would smell like something. It smells like nothing. I really.
That doesn't mean that it's not toxic.
Well, no, if you stuck it in your mouth or if you.
No, just because there's no smell, it's like natural gas. Natural gas doesn't smell. That's
Okay,
why
so
they put
you.
that additive in it that makes it smell like rotten eggs, so you can actually smell the gas.
But wouldn't there be a? Okay, so there would be an odorless fume. You're thinking.
It's very possible.
Okay. I will.
In the heating process, you're curing this. That cure is going to emit something. What is it going to emit?
Okay, I'm hard pressed to tell you right now because I see no evidence of anything other than giving off heat at the end, and no odor, no fumes, no nothing. It goes in bare metal with a powder applied to it, and it comes out with that powder applied to it baked onto the metal.
So we've been talking about the powder coat, so you do have a fab shop, so in a fab shop operation, there's machinery, so,
And I kind of located the big machinery, but
yeah,
it's the majority of the space is just free space made to be used for just moving product around at the different stages of whatever they want to do in the building of it. And I am in no I'm not like their boss to tell them where things have to go. It's just basically open floor space with the exception of a few pretty decent sized pieces of equipment. And I also showed the spot where the oven and the application of the powder is going as well.
well, in the drawing that you submitted, and there seems to be 2 copies of the same drawing,
It might be, yeah.
it says press brake shear,
That is a
and
big,
then on the other corner, it says powder coat area, but it doesn't say anything about an
No
oven.
specifics of,
about what?
An oven.
Oh, that's the powder coating area there.
Where you powder coat in the oven?
No, there's a space about the size of, half the size of this room. And then half of the room is where they apply the powder. And it's usually not like a spray gun, it's like kind of thing. And then it goes, they just move it 8 feet over into the oven, and that's where it gets baked. So it's about an 8-foot travel from applying the powder to baking the powder. And that's represented in that area that I showed you.
Okay, so maybe we could kind of specify one is where the oven actually is. So then we kind of want to know what type of, so again, we're going back to the powder coat, because everything else is, I don't know, the welding operation, so it's a fab operation, but the powder coating thing is different than the welding in the fact that there is something to be looked at. So, and hopefully what you're telling us is true, and there's going to be very low or no emissions, and there's not going to be any type of EPA thing. But the paperwork that you submitted didn't have anything about. It said when you sprayed it, there was really no problems, but it didn't say anything about when you cured it. And it didn't say anything about, as the stuff was curing in the ovens, what type of fumes were emitted
Right.
from that.
Well, if it's
And
sitting
then
in,
there was one that wasn't even, and then there's different types of ovens as far as heat ranges, and that's your different chemicals. So that's why we kind of need to know what chemical you're using, what process you're using, what furnace you're using, and then specifics as to
yeah,
the
the
EPA
furnaces
ratings
are,
of those.
yeah, the furnaces is, I don't want to say homemade, but for lack of a better term, they're homemade furnaces. You make a compartment and you put heating elements in it, and you have the appropriate number of elements to get the temperature up to, I don't know what it is, 450 degrees or whatever it is, and that's the only requirement. It's actually not a complicated anything. In fact, my neighbor, where I live on Armada Ridge Road, just moved in, and he makes motorcycles and stuff, and he's got a little garage about the size of this, and he's got a powder coating operation in his garage that but it's a much smaller oven, because all he needs to do is fit a motorcycle frame in there. But he does pretty much the same thing as we're doing on a larger scale. I don't know if that helps or anything, but I just thought it was interesting.
Okay, so,
So if I can get some kind of a checkoff list, because like I said, I had already, when I made my first application, and I'm trying not to put out multiple applications, you know, so I didn't even turn in an application this time, because when I went and saw her, she had my original application in her file, and that's the one that I was thinking we were still going by, and then that's the one that showed how many employees and that sort of thing. So I don't know if,
well, again, this is a new application, so the other one was not for special approval land use, that was just a site plan. This is site plan for special approval land use, so this is totally different. And
Okay.
you know, the money was totally different.
well, there was no money in the first one. This,
Just
well, 50 bucks, yeah, 50
There was
bucks,
money,
yeah,
just,
yeah. Yeah,
so,
I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to get this smooth sailing, and I'm trying not to make it complicated. And it's not a complicated process.
Sailing would have been giving us what we requested on the powder coat thing and give us legible drawings. So that would have, of what you knew that you brought in, we would be better off if those things would have been done. But I'd be glad to go over this with you. I'll have Becky draw up a list. She'll be in tomorrow, and we'll give you that list, and then we can proceed from there.
Okay, do you have in front of you one of these drawings of the site that you say is not readable,
Sure.
but it looks like I penned in dimensions?
Yeah, but again, it's got nothing with parking.
Should be the first page.
It should have,
I'm thinking
it should
Oh, maybe.
have, no, not there, not that one.
That one.
Or, oh, yeah,
So it's got your stuff, it's got dimensions.
let me just show you here. I'm starting to feel a little better here.
Good.
Okay. Right here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 parking spots.
See how this is? See these lines? See these lines?
The red ones?
This is very faint.
Yes, yes.
Make it so that so I don't have to put my glasses on and squint at this, that we can see it. Anybody can
Okay.
see that. So it's
Okay.
not a big deal, but
Okay.
this really isn't sufficient.
Well, anyway, I'll do that, but I just wanted to show you that these hash marks represent parking spots, and they're 18 foot long, and they're 15 foot deep. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4
But a park,
over here.
so if they're 15 foot deep, that's not a parking spot. So the parking spot, I believe, has to be 9 by 20.
What's your question?
He's talking about
This
parking.
is the, would have to be
So if
back
these are
here
only
behind
15
the
feet,
building.
they're not.
No, they're 18
They
feet.
got all this because they.
They're
well, that's
18
what they,
feet because they're on an
when they
angle.
put that sign.
So they make it 18, but they're 15 foot deep because straight out from this building here, they go out 15 feet, but they're actually 18 feet of parking. So that's what,
So again, the parking area
When we,
is 9 foot.
The sign shop. Yeah. well, you
Unless
know,
unless it's ACLU handicap, is that right?
ACA,
ACL.
or ADA, excuse me.
88, excuse me, yes,
excuse me.
thanks. So, and then it's 15 by 20. So anyway,
All right.
so this stuff needs to be specified. You need to have the parking areas here, the dimensions for the parking areas, and then this has to all go through. This dimension here has to jive with what this parking area is and what this radius thing here is. So all this needs to be
Yeah.
clarified and specified.
Okay.
So that it's legible, and
Okay.
if we were gonna go by this, none of that parking would be approved
at 18 feet,
at 15 or 18.
Yeah. Well, it's
Because
18, yeah.
this is the number you need,
9 by 20 now.
which it's always been 9 by 20.
Okay, well, All right, I don't know where the 18 came from, but this is what I handed in the previous time I was here, and this is what got approved. So that's why I just basically said, okay, this is ready to go, so this part I don't need to worry about.
But if this was on a big drawing, then if you can't shrink it and make it legible, then give us the big drawings.
Well, that's where because I was figuring, this is the area in question right here. This is.
Sure, but so is this. So you can't just say this is, it's the whole package.
Right,
So it's
right.
not just one piece of paper, it's a dozen pieces of paper.
Right, okay, all right. I'll be back to talk to her tomorrow and see about getting a list of some of the things that you're.
Yeah, wait till at least tomorrow afternoon, so,
How about I wait till
or Tuesday.
the next, yeah. wait till-
Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Give her a chance to,
Okay,
her and I can
Okay,
talk and.
all right.
Okay,
okay.
good. So again, we're not trying to make it hard on you, Mr. Ezzo, but we do want to protect the people that were here.
I know, I understand fully, and I hope that
But you understand that with special approval land use, you're going to be limited on what you can do. And it also is not transferable.
no, she already said that, I'm not concerned about that right now. But I do, while I'm here, want to mention one thing, and I don't know. This is just a general statement of the state of affairs of the way things are going in real estate and in business in general. Not just me, not just this town, everywhere. Retail is pretty near dead, and I got people in the business that tell me that. Office space and office rental, dying. This town has been wanting to make my 10,000 square foot building a place where somebody is going to be selling shoes or ice cream cones or some sort of retail, and it never works. The building was built to be industrial, heavy commercial use, and even though it got stuck where it's located, the fact that all of these other activities, retail, light, office, and all that, are just dying on the vine, that building needs to find a use, okay? And it just so happens that the use is not going to be probably retail or light office or anything, because there is no desire for that, or not as much for that. And I know, because I've been for years trying to make that building participate in the activities of the town and generate money for me as well as a landlord. And when I'm boxed into saying, well, you're approved for retail, but nobody wants to do retail anymore, or you're approved for light office, but light office is barely somebody wants to be doing that or renting from you on that. My only option is to do what they're doing now. There are many spaces that used to be zoned one way are now starting to be zoned in a way just to get it up and moving and activity coming from it so that tax base can be had. And so that's the only thing I wanted to say here, and I hope that you take that into consideration as well, because it's not a normal, I do know that there's houses nearby and all that, so I do want to, I am aware of that.
But you've had uses other than what you're saying, that you've had a couple of mechanic shops in there, that's zoned okay. You had a transmission shop in there, that's zoned okay. You had a sign guy that was zoned okay. You've had quite a few renters that had businesses that fit that locale. So, and I know what you're saying about your zoning, that the building is in the middle of the C2, and we can't rezone your building. You can't spot zone. So you can't just say, here's C2, here's C2, here's marked Ezzo's Industrial, here's C2, here's C2. So you can't just
Right, right.
It's gotta be,
Right.
what's the word? Contiguous
Yeah.
of something else.
Right, I understand it, but that's what it actually appears to have happened, because in that group of buildings, if you take the guy behind me who has a building every bit as big as mine, and has 0 parking, or you take the other side, the building Patrick just bought, and his original building that he's got, I'm in that same loop of buildings, but they are able to do what they do, and I'm trying to do similar, but I can't because I'm not zoned.
Well-
I'm not in that zone.
Actually, there's 2 zonings. So the building that's behind you, API, they're zone C1.
I know that,
So,
but
but so he doesn't need any parking.
But
So it's part of C1.
I know that.
And as far as Patrick goes, Patrick has done what you're doing.
Right.
And got a special approval land use.
Right,
It's,
right.
it's a process that needs to be done, and we're not making you do anything else that didn't make anybody else.
Right, no, but I did want to point out that, and if you look at my aerial, you'll see where those buildings are. I'm in that same group of buildings, and the one that you said, well, because he was zoned C1, how did he get to be zoned C1? I don't know, but he got to be zoned C1 and I didn't. So,
But again, the buildings on both sides of you are C2.
on both sides of me.
Correct.
You mean the phone company?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, well, okay.
So, okay, so a motion to do something, either we're gonna table this or we're gonna set the public hearing date. But if we set the public hearing date, it's kind of a big deal, and if we don't have all the information within a day or two, the public hearing is not gonna happen.
Well, can you do that? And if you don't get your information from me in 2 days, then,
If we set the public hearing and you don't, so if we set the public hearing and you don't have the information that we need, the next meeting, because nothing will happen at this public hearing,
yes.
the next meeting is gonna cost you more money again.
Say that again.
So again, so I stated that earlier in this meeting.
Yes.
Your fee that you've paid
Mhm.
covers 2 meetings. So tonight's 1 meeting.
Okay,
Your special approval is gonna be the next meeting.
okay,
The next meeting costs you 50% of what you've paid. The following meeting, you pay 100% of what you've paid.
okay. So
So-
can this be done in 2 meetings?
It all depends on you.
It all depends, if that's good, that's what I want to know. Okay, and right now, I'm gonna be leaving thinking that the 2 main things, besides what she's going to tell me for sure, the 2 main things I'm gonna be needing is to tell you the powder coating process and chemicals that they're using, number 1, and number 2, draw a better map so you can see the boundaries, particularly for the parking.
Not just the parking, but so then you're not really gonna tell me or tell us, you're gonna give it to us in documentation.
Yes,
But you're gonna need those items of documentation. You're gonna need how many employees, you're gonna need hours of operation, you're gonna need to know
yeah.
what.
That's gonna be on the list you give me though, hours of operation,
Correct.
how many employees. I gave you some of that already, but it's in a filing. yet.
Again, but that was a different application, so this is totally, so,
okay.
I mean, we're not gonna pick a little of this out and a little of this. We're gonna,
Right, no, I get it, I thought this was a continuation of that, that's what I was
Yeah.
assuming until
well,
you,
no, it's a totally different application. But
Okay,
anyway,
alright.
so even if that stuff was in there, we still wouldn't be any further than we are tonight. So,
we know a few things, but.
correct,
But I
we
still,
we're
I still
we're
need- yeah,
still gonna be
right,
short.
Right, okay,
So,
alright,
kind of like the weakest link of the chain is the
Yeah.
strongest link of the chain.
yeah.
So, okay,
Alright, so if you could do that in such a way that I can get you this information in 2 days, in fact, I'm not even gonna be to her till 2 days, I'll get it to her the same day though, okay, that she gives it to me, okay?
okay.
So I'm done?
No,
Okay.
we have to, so once we do the special approve, once we do the.
No, I mean
hearing-
tonight I'm done.
No, well, you could be done, but again, let me reiterate, once we do the special approval, or the special approval land use mailing, so this is a public hearing, so everybody gets mailings, this is a big deal. Once we do that, it's locked in, it can't be withdrawn. So whether or not you have the information or not, and if you don't have that information, we're gonna have a public hearing, and people are gonna show up, and we're not gonna discuss your project.
Okay. I don't know that I understand why, but,
Because you
but
don't, I'm saying, if you don't have everything that we need,
Mhm.
Before that,
No, I understand that, but the public hearing is about to discuss, so if
understood, but if you don't have all the information requested, we're not gonna discuss at the public hearing, because everything's not gonna be presented. So we're not ready for the public hearing if everything's not here.
Okay, all right, well, I see no reason why I can't get to her. They're pretty simple requirements, it sounds like, that you're giving me.
True,
so-
but the public hearing has to be, don't quote me, but I think it's roughly 15 days. But it takes a week to prepare for that.
Yeah,
So
okay,
now you've got 21 days. So you don't have, by the time we give you your list, you're almost out of time.
that's what I was gonna say, I have, the same day, I will return it with the things that you say you're missing. You're missing how many employees, which I've got there, but, you're missing parking, that you can't see, and this process for the powder coating, what exact the process is.
Hours of operation and.
I can tell you that right now.
And then kind of exactly what your operation is gonna be.
Yeah,
So, you need to submit a
all
letter,
simple.
basically a letter of intent. So
Okay.
this is our operation, this is what we're gonna do, this is our customer base. Again, you didn't say anything, which I did, about the vehicle traffic. So where's in that drawing, there's a truck route,
Yes,
okay? So how are you gonna unload that truck? Where are you gonna unload that truck? How often are you gonna unload that truck? Because again, you're using the village parking lot to access your property. And you're using the village alleyway to get away from your property. So
Mhm.
all those things are necessary to your application. So with the special approval land use, there's a lot more detail required because you're not zoned for what you're doing. So
Okay.
there's
Okay.
a lot more hoops to jump through.
okay. So I'll be there, I'm not gonna be there tomorrow. You said give her a little breather, but I'll be there bright and early the next day, to get that, and I'm sure that I can have this stuff back into her hands before she leaves, which is like, what, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock?
Well, but then we're gonna have to go over it too, before we do anything. So, and then if there's anything that's missing, then we're gonna have to go back again and say, okay, we need this, and this.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Okay.
So do we wanna set like next meeting, a public hearing, or do you wanna table it until that meeting?
Well,
Now, what are you saying? If I table it, then I'm not charged a meeting? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
yes,
Oh. All right, well then if I have my preference, if I'm not charged a meeting and then it doesn't wreak havoc, doing it that way, let's do it.
but you might run, you're operating without an approval.
Yes.
So operating without an approval, I don't know if you'll be able to keep operating without an approval going with the time extension.
So then I should stay with trying to get this all done for the next meeting.
We would have hoped that you were ready for this meeting, but yeah. So we
Does
could,
that mean we have a public hearing next meeting?
it's up to this board, so we need a motion to approve something. So either we table it or we make a motion to have our public hearing at their next meeting and set a time and a date for that meeting. And then we also say that if there isn't sufficient documentation, the meeting will still be held, but it will not be discussed. Because basically you're operating illegally at present.
That's what I'm told, yes.
Yeah. Well, don't all speak up at the same time.
One question through the chair then. Does the applicant have a preference of how he wants us to proceed?
It sounds like I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't, on either one. The matters that Ben is saying that need to be satisfied, to me, all seem very simple. And actually, I'm surprised that some of them are even brought up. But I can satisfy those quite easily. But he's saying even if I do satisfy them on the same day that he gives me this list, he's saying that it may not be enough time. So it sounds like it's out of my hands anyway. I personally would probably prefer, I was going to say, well then skip the meeting and then I'm not charged and go to another meeting and then we can have a clearer picture. But then he brings up the part that, well, but you know you're operating illegally. So that, there's a dead end there for me as well, because I don't know what that means. Does that mean the police are gonna come and tag the place and they're not gonna be able to function for at least, and it won't be 30 days, by the way, it'll be 60, maybe 90 days if the place then gets tagged, because there's no, I don't see a crystal ball that I'm gonna satisfy Ben and what he wants even after 2 meetings. He might come up with something else that then tables it again. So potentially, it could be 90 days that these guys who have to get stuff out daily are gonna be put into mothballs, and then the whole thing's gonna go kaput, and I'm gonna end up with an empty building and a tenant that ain't
Mark, you
paying
gotta
rent.
make a decision. You want it to be tabled, or do you want it to have a public hearing in our November meeting?
Yeah, okay, let's go ahead and go forward. I'm gonna get you the stuff the same day and be done with it.
So we got 21 days, so there should be enough time if
Okay.
you can do what you say.
Okay,
Because there is gonna, from past dealings, there's gonna be some going back and forth.
okay.
So,
And if I can make one quick addition.
sure.
So one of the questions that was asked for
one of the questions that was asked was chemicals used in the manufacturing process. So going through the material provided by the applicant, the process, it involves 3 steps: part prep, powder application, and curing. So would it be possible to request a listing of all the chemicals used in each and every
Exactly.
step?
Exactly.
And not just the
That's what we are.
curing
Correct, yeah.
slash furnace?
It's the whole operation.
I just want to make sure we're clear on that one detail.
Yep.
So you, want a motion for a public hearing for the, site approval for 74130 Fulton?
Yes, and then we have to say what the day,
I couldn't find our calendar.
Well, say what you want the motion to say, and then one of us will say it.
And I don't want you to have the impression this is a heavy chemical-based operation. I showed Ben the prep, the
You
chemical.
just gotta identify what you do have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
showed
was-
them a spray can that they use to prep the material with. It's something you can buy at the Ace Hardware.
Well, again, I'm just referring to the material that you had presented to the
Right.
village. That's all I'm going off of here.
Right.
Because I have no idea what actually goes on inside your building except for what's provided in front of us here.
Right, yeah. But I guess I'm saying, I don't know if I was gonna run an auto body shop or a spray, like Ben was spray painting in his shop when I visited him. They were painting a trailer or something. But if you're using spray paint, you would wanna know the makeup of the paint, the chemicals involved in the paint? Or can't you just say paint?
No, I think you need to know the chemicals involved.
yeah.
Citing the
But I'm
information.
sorry, I don't know how to use the calendar thing.
There are 3 different types of powder coating, thermosets, thermoplastics, and UV curable. So at least maybe just narrow it down to which style.
Yeah, I'm gonna show him, I was gonna show him which of those
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a little challenged.
So you're looking for what date? November?
Yeah, when's
Did
our
we
meeting
go with
date?
the
It's
second?
November,
The first Monday will be the 2nd.
Second, right.
Second, okay, so that would be
Did
it,
we
so we
set
set, yeah, the second is the first Monday of November,
Correct.
so we'll have a public hearing on,
November 2nd. Open the public hearing at,
7:30.
No, I think we have to go through pledge of allegiance, roll call, the agenda, and minutes before we go to the public hearing. And then we go to the site plan, and then we do a public hearing. So how about 7:40?
yeah.
That's the time?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, 7:40, okay.
Well, we have to,
That's the
we
public
have,
hearing.
public hearing,
Oh,
we have to
okay.
set a specific time.
All right, I get
So
it.
the meeting will still be at 7:30.
Okay, I get it.
Your public hearing will be at 7:40
I get it, okay.
PM. Got it, Dave?
Yep, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
That we have the public hearing, 7:40, November 2nd, to, for
Discuss.
the, powder coating
For the application of Smart Esso.
for Mark Vessel.
Yeah, so it's not just powder coating, it's a fab powder coat, powder slash. So it's basically a fab shop.
I will second the motion.
Seconded by, Sarah.
Hold on for 1 moment here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Opposed? Okay, so moved. So,
Is he about to ask me another question?
No, I was writing down the notes here.
no,
Oh, okay.
these are secretary, these are secretary.
Your portion is completed.
Okay. All right.
So it would behoove you, once you get this thing, to get done as fast as you can,
Will,
and then don't just show up, call me up, make sure I'm there. I'm semi-retired, so I'm not there all the time,
right.
okay? And we'll go over it, and I'll, if I have a chance while you're there, I'll do it. If not, I'll have to call you back. Leave me a number that I can get a hold of you, a cell number or something that
Will do.
I can call you up, and we'll get through this.
Okay. All right, sounds good. I think I got it straight.
But whatever you give us, make sure that it's legible.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to squeeze it into a a not ridiculous size sheet of paper so that,
We're used
Again,
to
whatever
it.
you do, it's
Okay.
gotta be legible.
okay. Good enough, thank you
Okay.
much.
All right, public comments? None?
Lost our public.
Yeah, that's a lot of public. Okay, so chair report, I have none, other than, Mr. Eto did come in on a Tuesday, and Wednesday was his last day to submit prior to this meeting. So, other than that, anybody else got anything?
I have nothing to add.
Nothing.
Okay, a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
At
8:34.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right here.